Look at that beautiful stainless brake and barrel. Troy Industries handguard. This is the Lightning from Darkstorm Industries. 9mm carbine. It's what we'll take a look at next on GBGuns. Hello and welcome back to another episode of GBGuns. Got the Lightning from Darkstorm Industries here at 9mm pistol caliber carbine. We've been doing a lot of these carbines lately because they're fun. Not only are they fun, but an excellent option for home defense. Less expensive to shoot than many rifles, and for those looking to get into competition, there are a lot of categories opening up for PCCs, pistol caliber carbines. Before I dive into the gun, I want to show you the manual. Sometimes I flip through manuals, and this one is excellent. Not only do we have full color with large, clear font and state-by-state warnings for those of you living in the slave states. Speaking of which, Darkstorm Industries is behind enemy lines. They are based out of New York, and I really appreciate and respect their efforts to produce firearms in a state that is very, very hostile to our Constitution. So good on you, Darkstorms. They also make state-compliant rifles, one of which hopefully we'll get to take a look at here soon, because I'm curious what it's like to have one of those rifles. Fortunately, I'm in a free state. So back to this manual. Full color, and it includes information that anyone of any experience level can use, but is probably most useful for new shooters. Break-in procedure. When's the last time you saw a nice, clearly illustrated break-in procedure in a manual? Whole thing on the warranty. Once again, we've got full color. There's your names of things. And frequently asked questions and answers, which I thought was pretty cool. The whole manual is not very thick. It's very easy to flip through and tells you everything you need to know about the firearm. Speaking of which, let's get to it. Now, rifles, of course, I break down for this tabletop because I've got this much space to work in, and rifles are much longer than handguns. So the DS9 Lightning is an AR styled rifle. It's direct blowback, as most of the 9mm are these days. And let's say this upper and lower fit is rather snug. Requires a little bit of help to get open, and that's a good thing. And I'll show you why it's snug in a second here after I punch this open. Alright, so we got them separated now, and the reason why I like a tight upper-lower fit is, though your optics are mounted to the upper, any shifting that can happen between shots can impact your sight picture a little bit, and thereby maybe a little bit of your accuracy. There was some play in this upper-lower fit. They are both billet 7075 receivers, as you can see by the nice machining there, made by Darkstorm Industries. This is not a simple assembly of other people's parts. But if you look in the lower, you see that green dot there. That is a tensioning screw that arrived with a bit more play in the upper and lower than I like to use, but was easy enough to disassemble. You remove the pistol grip, and from underneath you can drive that screw up until it puts tension on this rear lug of the upper receiver. That's what keeps everything tight. Alright, enough with that. Let's take a look at this upper. So, even though 9mm is plenty gentle, blowbacks tend to have a little more recoil because you've got a lot of reciprocating mass. So, Darkstorm has this gorgeous brake on here that obviously is a brake. You see the 3 angled vents there, a compensator with the 3 vertical vents, and I also noticed that edge in there, which may help serve as a bit of a flash hider. Not sure yet. We've got our stainless barrel. It's a 1 in 10 twist, which matches most 9mm. This Troy Industries handguard, which is rather grippy. I think would probably work really well with gloves. This ribbing combined with the chamfered circles gives plenty of spots to hold on to. We've got T-marks all the way down in case you want to mount and remove stuff. Looking at our handguard to receiver fit, those of you unfamiliar, I'm talking about this right here. Looks pretty darn perfect. That to me, I look at that as a sign of the care that went into construction and building of the rifle. It's also important if you want to run iron sights, because if your front handguard is off a little bit from your rear, then obviously it's going to be a bit more complicated to get things zeroed, and it might be indicative of the front being loose. Here's our close-up of the upper receiver. I dig the machining. Looking at the barrel, notice the nice chamfering around there. That ought to help with reliable feeding. We'll see. Once we get this to the range, we'll of course do our multi-load test, running a wide variety of rounds through it, see what feeds and what doesn't. Not every 9mm carbine barrel has that, believe it or not, and that's why we like to test. But that's a nice, good looking one. Clean internals. The charging handle has a nice extension on it, and I don't know if it's the leverage or the spring they use, but it's very easy to open, which is great. There are some that are quite stiff, and I found what happens with that is if you're too quick on a stiff one, it'll end up dragging that claw across your receiver, and then you scratch your receiver. So that's a nice touch. This firearm was obviously used before we got our hands on it. That's okay. Here's our bolt. Got some type of coating. Excellent staking. I know some people get all into the staking. Not a whole lot of pressure happens on this key here because it is blowback, but we're looking for that staking to go into the point of deforming or making contact with the bolt, and as you can see, it deforms it, so it's definitely in there nice and solid. We have this indent here for using a thumb press to close the chamber if need be. Internal extractor. And there's our weight. Angled cut, which should mean that it works with other triggers. Heavy duty roll pin. Good looking. I like the two-tone appearance. Also works well with the stainless barrel. Let's take a look at that lower. So here's our lower, also of billet 7075, made by Darkstorm Industries. I like the styling or appearance of the mag release, looking like traditional AR-15, easily within reach. Big, strong ejector, that's not going anywhere. The trigger, I'm not sure whose it is. It might be made by Darkstorm. An ambi safety selector. Hogue rubber overmold grip, and as with most billet pieces, since we have the included trigger guard, there's no pin there or a real gap, so I doubt you'll have any patrol knuckle issues. There is a 90-degree corner on this edge here, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Darkstorm Industries branded buffer tube, and they use a Magpul stock. There is some play here on the stock, but that's a Magpul problem more than a Darkstorm problem. And we've got dual points for the sling. Speaking of buttstocks, one of the things that I do appreciate about this design is the ability to lock it in place. And look at that. Tightened up most of the play. But if you're ever shooting from a rest or anything where you've got support underneath here, the ones that have the adjustment exposed down here end up getting bumped by your sled or rest or bag or whatever you're using, and then when you fire the gun, slides back in its own stock, which is kind of annoying. The Magpul stock does have QD points on both sides. Looking around our other side, got our nice machining there, the DSI logo nice and clean, and our safety selector. So overall, a very good looking rifle. Appears to be of very high quality construction and components. We'll be curious to see how this thing runs. We'll get it out, we'll run it through, I believe we have 6 different types of Glock magazines. Darkstorm recommends using only factory Glock magazines, but we want to know, and you deserve to know, what it'll run and not run with. And then we'll run our load variety. I believe the lightest we have is 50 grain and the heaviest is 165 grain. And then we'll try grouping this thing. 9mm I like to group at 50 yards. I think that's most fair. Because any inaccuracies beyond that, I feel, are more likely to be an ammunition issue than a rifle issue. Sure, 9mm travels farther than 50 yards, but I don't think it's fair for us to group a 9mm rifle past that, where the faults could be not of the rifle's own construction. That makes sense. Make sure to click the bell for notifications when that video comes live, and let me know your thoughts on this guy. I'm also curious how many of you are interested in pistol caliber carbines like this. Nice magazine well flare there. That ought to make reloads really easy. And if you'd like to see more of these, also how many of you are in restricted states and would like to see us do one of the 50 state compliant rifles, since that's Darkstorm Industries' specialty. Thanks for watching.
Alright, so it's Erica here. I am going to give you my first impressions on the Lightning by Darkstorm. Initially, this is a fun firearm to look at. It's aesthetically pleasing, which in my book is important. And anybody can build a black gun. So, what does have me excited though is the stippling on the grip here. It's actually got just enough tack that I think that's going to be really nice in the hand. Obviously you've got the adjustable stock here. Well, it's not going to adjust for me now. There we go. In playing with the trigger a little bit, and I know that it's just, you know, playing with nothing else in it, I'm a little concerned. I'd like it to be a little bit smoother, but it does have a nice crisp reset. And then you have this very fun stainless steel barrel poking out of the handguard, and we'll see if what this brake does. But I'm excited to get it out there, see what we get, and what we can do with it.